Boom.
Oh my god.
Bang.
Hello. Welcome to the Live Connection podcast. I'm Peter. That's Jarrod. That's Grayden. And that's Eric. Now, before you guys say anything, boys, I have a little bit of an announcement.
Oh.
Woo. Over the weekend, we hit 300 subscribers, boys.
Hey.
Hell yeah.
Big W.
Nice.
Hi, Grayden's mom.
So yeah, that's awesome to hit. And hopefully it's only steadily upward from there.
Well, it's like that. It's going to be that curve, right? Where it's like it starts off really slow and then it just starts to build on itself.
Oh,
so
you bet. So how's it going, guys?
I'm excited. It's going good. I'm good this morning.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
I'm hanging out.
Well,
Cheeky.
it's that time of year. Holidays, no thank you. Game Awards.
E3?
No, that's a thing of the past now. No, the Game Awards are coming up in a couple weeks here.
Wow.
It's. I would say I am super excited. Not necessarily for the things that are nominated because I haven't played half the shit that's been nominated. But you know, I'm excited.
It always like rekindles that hype for games.
Yeah.
And I always get more excited, you know.
Seeing all the world premieres and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's just it is a lot like E3 with the extra added bonus of awards.
Yeah.
And it's all just in one confined package instead of like over a few days or a whole summer.
Hmm.
So yeah, the Video Game Awards happen every December. It's organized by a guy named Jeff Keighley.
Canadian.
Who is a Canadian indeed. I'm not sure exactly who nominates or like what the judges are, but they just go through a whole bunch of different categories, everything from game of the year, art direction, the music, really you name it, they have it. So we're going to go through the list, take some guesses to what we think will win, and see how accurate we are. We'll also be streaming the Game Awards, so you'll be able to see our reactions live.
Real quick, they have the voting jury. It's a leading 95 media and influencer outlets across the globe. So I'll just like list off some of them that we might know. There's like Game Informer, Games Radar, Gameranx, GameSpot, IGN, of course, LA Times, PC Gamer, Polygon, fucking even where CBC can't like fucking apparently has a say in it.
Really?
Yeah, like there's just a lot of different people that it seems they consult on it.
Gotcha.
Well, would it be some of those companies like CBC because of the esports coverage that some of them do?
Probably.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even.
Oh, and now they have a accessibility category. I guess
which I'm super stoked to talk about because there's a few games in there that we've played that have those accessibility options, which are really cool to add in there. So I think that's gonna be a good one.
Mm-hmm. Well, you guys just want to jump into it then?
Yeah.
Let's just jump right
good.
into it.
Okay, so first up, let's.
I want to point a conspiracy out. This is for Peter.
Uh-oh.
I have a conspiracy theory. Bum bum bum. I think, or I'm gonna ask you, Peter. Do you think? Because I was reading this the other day that people are saying that they delayed Cyberpunk 2077 to give these other games a chance to win Game of the Year this year and save Game of the Year for Cyberpunk for next year. I'm curious to see, do you think that is the case? Do you think they purposely delayed the game purely because they're like, this game would win Game of the Year? Why are we taking away from great games such as Ghost of Tsushima or Final Fantasy or Hades when clearly Cyberpunk is up here?
Okay, well, like I think Cyberpunk would have took like just won a lot of things, but is that the reason why it was delayed? No. At least it better not be.
A big company wouldn't purposely delay their big ass brand new IP like weeks before it's supposed to release, just to pity the other companies. That's fucked up. And That's so like
That's some
it feels
big dick energy.
anti-competition, and it's mean. Like fuck you.
I laugh because there's not a lot of like I kind of ignore media right now, but I just happened to be scrolling through and I just happened to come across this on one of the game channels that I follow, and I was laughing so hard because I was like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. They wouldn't do that. That's way too much money lost for them to push it off for now.
Because
like,
all that
that's
marketing they've put out for it being released on that day, they now have to change to it being released on a different day. It's like Peter, you said the other day, it's like, oh, it's kind of funny. It's like their whole delaying it screwed up their whole marketing thing. So all of a sudden they just puked out a bunch of trailers on that one day. And I kind of agree with that. I think it did fuck up their marketing system. But anyways, back to the topic at hand.
So, game of the year. The nominees.
Can I go on a side tangent real quick about marketing?
Sure.
It's real quick. How Halo 6 handled their marketing. They just said fuck it and went ahead with it. Because like they had all those like food packages ready, printed with fucking Master Chief and stuff. So they're just like, fucking take the cosmetic codes anyways, you'll get them later. Whatever.
Yeah, they clearly were not planning to be delayed. Like, I think by the time they're like, we need to delay this, it was too late. Things had already been shipped. The money was spent. They were like,
it's just something I've had in my head that I wanted to like quickly bring up on the podcast. Because I found it like hilarious and kind of sad at the same time. Yeah.
So,
right, game of the year.
Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Animal Crossing: New Horizons, and Last of Us Part 2. What do you think, boys? What's your gut reaction?
Can I just say I don't think Doom Eternal should be categorized in this category.
Oh,
it's a good game. No, I have.
You played it?
Yeah, that's the one on Game Pass, right?
Did you play Doom or Doom Eternal?
Doom Eternal on Game Pass, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I just don't think it's necessarily a game worth game of the year. It's a good game. Played well, the action was good. It's a fun game. Like it's enjoyable. I just don't know if it's game of the year worthy.
I understand what you're saying.
I think I agree. I don't know. It's like it is one of the better games released this year. I think it is a really good game to me. It did have a few problems. I think with just I forget what exactly. There were some audio problems or something.
The sound mixing was really bad.
Yeah, that was one big problem, and then as I've seen, some people dislike the Marauders, as Peter and I talked about before the podcast started. Like that kind of puts a sour note in some people's mouth. But yeah, I do think it is still one of the stronger games. I'm surprised that like Ori and the Will of the Wisps isn't on there compared to Doom Eternal. I could see that taking its place.
I don't know. That's hard.
I think it was a really strong game. The narrative was really good. Everything about the gameplay was super tight. I know there was a few glitches or something on release, but I'm pretty sure all of those got patched out. And I haven't played it yet, but supposedly the Series X enhancements are just really fucking good. So I'm excited to check that out.
Animal Crossing was like super popular for sure, and it came out in a time when the world needed it, but I don't know if I'd agree that it's game of the year.
I feel like they were almost trying to spread out, give like a game over to like specifically like this. I think they're trying to disperse it. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to get games of the year, but I'm curious if there's kind of a like we need to kind of cover a larger area instead of just covering just certain games. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm just saying there might be some bias, like some selection biases in that direction.
For Animal Crossing, in that like it does have that classic Nintendo like quality assurance where like it is an absolutely gorgeous game. The way it's stylized is absolutely beautiful. There's a lot of heart behind it. And for the people who are still playing it, like there's a reason they continue to play it every single day and are returning to do like the things that are there. It's because it is like just overall a solid game, and they've been super supportive of it with like updates and like bringing just more and more content to the game. I know some people were upset it wasn't there on launch, but I mean, it is coming into the game, so
yeah. But you could say that about every game. Like anyone who anytime a DLC comes out, they could have been like, that should have been out on launch day instead of having it come out later, right? Like it's even updates. You got to start a game somewhere, right? And if they have a launch date, that's what they're going to start with, and they're going to add things as they go. I think people need to stop complaining about that kind of thing.
And the music was fucking great as usual for Animal Crossing. The like theme for the game, I adore that theme. It gives you those feel good feels in your tummy.
I was gonna say it might be because Peter, you didn't get it, did you?
Animal Crossing? No, I didn't.
Animal Crossing? I think that might also play a role. Like I've never actually played an Animal Crossing game, so I can't really comment on Animal Crossing. I just don't know if it's my kind of game. Yeah. Again, I've never played it, so it could be my kind of game. I just haven't ever given it the time and day to be that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like it is a pretty nice looking game. It looks like it appeals to that casual gamer, right? Like it appeals to someone who's more of a casual gamer, and it does it very well from what I've heard from you, Eric, and Evan, and Matt, who I think Matt played it. I think he talked to me about it.
Matt played it.
Is it Nintendo? Matt's played it.
but you know what I mean? Like I think that's why it is there, and that's why I said that. It's almost, to me, it's like maybe they're trying to cover some different areas for this to give like multiple gamers the choice to vote on
what
something.
It feels like.
But the other thing too to take in consideration is that, like, I mean, Eric, you kind of said it there. It's like there wasn't a ton of stellar games that were released this year just because of delays and everything that went on in the world, right? Like all these big titles that were supposed to launch in 2020 got delayed to either 2021 or late 2020, right? So I don't know. I'm not bashing Animal Crossing. Like again, for the casual gamer, it's probably the perfect game. It's probably one of the better casual games I could only assume.
There's some creativity in it people do. It's so fucking like holy shit. I don't know how they are able to do some of it. With landscaping.
I'm reading the thing underneath the Game of the Year is recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. I never played Animal Crossing either. I get there's a lot of creativity in it. I just like it's not a game that like pushes anything. It's like a copy and paste of the last Animal Crossing with maybe a few cherries and nuts and extras. Added on. So that doesn't really speak to Game of the Year for me. Last of Us Part 2 I played. It was good. It was the same kind of thing, though. It was like, well, I mean, I say it was good. Half of it was good. I didn't really care for the for one part of the story, but that's a whole different thing.
For me,
same kind of thing.
Like,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think Hades is gonna win. I think it really nailed like that line that you said of how it's absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. Like, people really went nuts for that game. Like, and not like you don't see that with a lot of games, or that universal appeal just across the board like that. Oh, that's weird. The link won't load for you, but like, yeah, the gameplay, the writing, the voice acting. I was addicted to the game. I think it's gonna easily take away Game of the Year. It's either between that and Last of Us Part 2. I think.
Nah, I'd even be comfortable between Hades and Ghost of Tsushima.
That's what I was saying. I think just because of the divisiveness of The Last of Us 2, and I've seen some people are coming out and saying that Naughty Dog has kind of been stagnant with their game design. Like, it's kind of just been the same with, like, Uncharted and The Last of Us 1, and I don't know, it hasn't really, like, they haven't pushed the bar or in terms of like gameplay. It's just been like more graphical and story-wise that they've been trying to reach. While Ghost of Tsushima, I think like people fucking loved it. They loved the story. Apparently, they loved the open world gameplay was phenomenal, and just all of the combat was super rewarding. I haven't played it, but just from what I've seen and like the content they've put out afterwards, I do think Hades or Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
Or Animal Crossing, maybe.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what happens there.
Yeah. With Ghost of Tsushima, with that game, I learned that some of the people I knew were gamers because of that game. They couldn't stop talking about it. Like, I would have never pegged them for people who sit down and play a game until they were talking about this.
Yeah.
So,
with regard to Last of Us Part 2, it is the most nominated game this year. I think it's got 9 nominations in different categories.
And it deserves nominations. It is a good game. Game of the year? I don't think so.
Fair enough. Hades probably, yeah, and I think Hades is beautiful.
I'd be very comfortable with Hades. I haven't played that one, but I've seen so much about it. It's on the list.
All right, we move on to next one, and we'll get Jerry's opinion once he gets back.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm just sad that you guys don't like Animal Crossing as much as I do, because it is a very fun experience as well to play with your friends. Just run around your island and hang out.
You know, if it wasn't a full price game, I definitely want to try it, but I just can't justify dropping that much money on it.
I'm gonna do a quick check of like how much time I put into it. I know that won't change your opinion at all, but just out of curiosity, I'm gonna see.
While you do that, let's get into Best Game Direction. So that's awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. So we have Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Half-Life Alyx, and Last of Us Part 2.
And just right off the bat, can I say outstanding creative vision and innovation in a direction and design? Can you really count a remake in that category?
Yes.
A remaster, no, but a remake, I think you can.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough.
Also, I
was thinking
more than 150 hours in Animal Crossing.
That's a lot of hours.
Sorry to interrupt you, Grayden.
That's a lot of hours.
So for me, for this one, I think Hades is going to take it. It's the reason why Hades is going to win Game of the Year. Like the way the story's progressed, how you get stronger in the game, how you make relationship and grow with the characters. It's just so well done, especially considering it's a roguelike. If they didn't make a couple of key decisions when planning Hades' game direction, I don't think it would have achieved what it managed to. Like, it just has such a strong vision and unique identity.
The only other game I think would contend is Half-Life Alyx, just for the innovation category, because, you know, it's like a pillar of VR or something right now. Like, people are saying that it goes above and beyond what VR has previously been capable of in terms of like gameplay, story, just everything. So I do agree that I think it's going to be Hades as well. I haven't played as much as you. I'm pretty early on still, but like what I have played is just super fucking impressive on like all fronts. That like I think it could steal it from Valve, and that's saying something for Supergiant Games, which the creators of Bastion. Like Bastion's a fucking phenomenal game, but I mean, it's just Bastion. It's just like your little boy going like.
Supergiant Games have made super interesting games. I'm a big fan.
I want to play Transcendence. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I want to try that out too. Yeah, after Hades.
What about you, Grayden? What do you lean towards?
I agree. I think Hades, just for innovation, like you said. Creative vision, I could see an argument for Last of Us 2. It's a great story for the most part, without giving too much away. Yeah. Anyway, but I think Hades.
So, like, based on your... Oh, go ahead.
Nothing else is really jumping out at me in terms of focusing on innovation and creative vision.
Well, like I definitely agree with you with The Last of Us and its like creative story, which is why for the next category, best narrative, I think it gets it because like as we all know, the people talked a lot about the story in 2020. And but that's exactly why I think it'll win. They took a risk and they did something unprecedented with their style of games. I don't think anyone really expected them to go that direction. And so whether you liked it or not, it really made people discuss the story. And I think ultimately that's one of the signs of a successful, well done story.
Are we moving on to the next category?
Yeah, I figured might as well.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I think real quick, just like for Final Fantasy VII, I think it's important to establish that like it is a good game, but I don't think it really deserves many. Or it's hard to say deserve, but like it was such like a moment in time in 2020, you know, that like it wasn't sustained by any means throughout the year. People weren't continuously coming back and talking about it in the same way they were other games. And I feel because it's a remake and because it's like not a finished game entirely, and like Peter and I were talking about, it's an episodic game. Like there's still more to come and more to see, so that like maybe when the game is entirely finished and done, I would be putting it on the list. But right now, I think it's hard to argue for Final Fantasy VII. Even
Yeah.
but this is coming from someone who hasn't played it as well. So
it's also hard for, at least in my opinion, for open world games to like they can compete. Obviously, like The Witcher 3, for example, has an incredible story.
Or Ghost of Tsushima.
Or Ghost of Tsushima. Like, I was even thinking about that, but I was also thinking about how much time you spend just running around the big open world and how the story can maybe take a back seat for a portion of your experience.
I don't think
like
that's...
Hades, The Last of Us, it's like you're following more of a streamlined story.
I don't think that's inherently a bad thing, because you could argue that for Red Dead Redemption 2, where you're just on your horse riding between areas. So I think... Yeah, it depends how they handle it. Like, if you have, like, introspective moments while riding, like, traveling, or, like... it just depends on how the open world experience is done. And a JRPG doesn't do it quite in the same way as, like... I guess Ghost of Tsushima is sort of a JRPG, but not really.
Yeah.
It's
kind of in a weird
Which category
place.
are we on?
Best narrative.
Yeah, best narrative.
But anyway, my final vote for best narrative would be Last of Us.
I
have no
really say, honestly. I haven't played enough of Hades to say. I am intrigued in the narrative, so I'll say that. I could see The Last of Us for the reason Peter said, of it being like, just because of the risk they took, that kind of like brings a certain uniqueness to the story that no other game has really had in a long time, I feel.
And with regard to Hades, like, I totally love to see it win, but like ultimately I don't think the story was that unique. You know, the boy has daddy issues and wants to escape. I think the way it was delivered is pretty unique, but the story itself, it's not a bad story by any means, but
okay.
I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it.
It's like good old mythology. Like, you can't go wrong. It's mythology. Like, hell yeah.
It's been around for a reason.
It never goes really above and beyond your expectations.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, are we writing our picks down so that we can actually compare for the Game Awards?
I wrote mine down just because I wanted to write down my thoughts, but...
Okay.
I'll go through them afterwards and make a list.
do a shot for every
Sure.
wrong answer when we stream it. No, that's a joke.
That would
Do you know
be
my
pretty funny.
categories are up
That's a
here?
joke. Yeah,
That's 30 shots if we're wrong 30 times.
But if you're right,
That's fine.
you bet it all.
I could see us doing like for every 5 you get wrong, you have to do a shot or something. But
Lord is
for every single one to do a shot, fuck, I'm gonna be drinking a lot because I don't know half these games, so I'm just kind of
Yeah,
basing it off of what
true.
you guys tell me.
We're just dooming Jarrod. All right. Up next is art direction. That's described for outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. So we have Final Fantasy VIII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and Last of Us Part 2. I almost feel like I'm just repeating myself every time.
Well, I mean, you got to look at it this way: if it's game of the year or it's up for game of the year, there's reasons it's up for game of the year. It's not
That's
like
true.
this random game of the year. It has nothing good about it outside of the fact that you're game of the year this year,
Yeah.
right? Like I feel like game of the year is most of the time going to control like a lot of the top categories, right? I
Yeah.
said control very odd there. I don't
Control.
understand why I did control. Best narrative.
This
I'm
is
gonna go
actually-
with
Kind of tough for best art direction because like I saw some stills from Ghost of Tsushima, like some in-game photos. That game looks fucking gorgeous, especially like the Japanese aesthetic. Hades, it's Hades. It has such a unique art direction.
Yeah.
Like Ori and the Will of the Wisps is absolutely gorgeous. I do think it could be very deserving of it. And I'm not too sure about The Last of Us. I can't say. So I'd say like I could see it for maybe art, like in technical achievement of like the artistic, but maybe not like in terms of its creativity because it's kind of just overrun post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
world that you've kind of seen.
I mean, based on what I've played, I've played one of these games. I played Ori. So based on I've seen gameplay of the others, right? Like I've seen gameplay of Ghost of Tsushima and a little bit of Hades, not too much. I'd be giving it to Ori. I just think it's so creative, and how it is creative is also really well done. Like it's just a very crisp art design. And it's very appealing. Like whenever you're watching it, it's just like I don't know. It has that wow factor to me, whereas a lot of games don't have that wow factor with art involved in them that I've played. I mean, most of the games I played again go hyper realistic, and that's nice, but you get less creativity out of it. So to me, the wow factor from Ori is really nice. Like I really enjoyed it. So I'd probably have to give it to that. But again, that's coming from someone who's played one of the 5 games that is up for here. I've only seen videos on the others.
I feel at least for the best art direction, you can use it just from looking at least
Yeah.
a bit more than the other ones. Like you can be like, "Ooh, that looks pretty." Bye, Grayden. You know, if it looks
Grayden
pretty,
did not like my
yeah.
description.
So yeah, like for this one, I went online and read a couple different articles, watched a couple different videos on what other people were saying because I really didn't know, and a lot of people actually said Last of Us 2 just because it was kind of like a showcase of what the PlayStation 4 can really do. It was a last like hurrah for this generation. Like a lot of people said it could easily stand toe to toe with Red Dead 2, and just because of the technical achievement alone is why a lot of people gave it to them. Although like it's
is
not,
that more of a statement towards the PlayStation, or is that more of a statement towards the game itself? Like I know the game kind of provides the graphics, but it's the console that performs it. So I mean, using that as your argument, I don't know if that'd be a good way to decide this. I think that kind of takes away from the like looking purely at the game, because you could have technically used the same art design on any of the top end consoles and GPUs, and they could probably perform the same way.
I don't know. I think with how things look, it really is up to the developer. Like compared like Assassin's Creed Valhalla even to Red Dead 2, I'd say Red Dead 2 easily takes the cake on that. And it's just because of the engine and the way that the technical design is implemented into the game, in my opinion. I don't know.
For me, it's gotta meet both categories to win best art direction. And I don't think that Last of Us art design reaches that creative side of it. I think it definitely hits the technical side, and that's why I said most of the games that I play hit the technical side of the design. But a lot of the games I play don't hit the creative side, and that's where I'm like, to me, Ori was one of those few games that, and I'm not someone who will necessarily play a game for how it looks, but Ori was really appealing just to the eye. Like, I really enjoyed that game the whole way through. And that's not even my style of game. Like, you guys know the general games that I play. Like, that's not even really my style of game. And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, each environment was just so unique and like different compared to the last that I think I think Ori and the Will of the Wisp deserves to take that one. Best art direction.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'd feel comfortable with that.
All right.
Next.
So up next, best score and music. For outstanding
Ori.
music, inclusion of score, original song, and or licensed soundtrack. We got Doom Eternal,
Ori.
Final Fantasy VIII, Hades,
Ori.
Ori,
Ori.
and The Last of Us Part 2.
I'd have to go with Ori on this one.
Okay.
I listen to, like, when I'm doing work and stuff, I'll listen to different game soundtracks. So I've actually listened. I haven't played fuck all for any of these games, but I've actually listened to soundtracks from these games, and I would have to go with Ori. Again, I will say this: soundtrack can sometimes be better when you have the visual accompanying it. Right? Like, when you know what's happening in the game, that can kind of add to that experience.
It puts it all together how they intended it to be.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I'm basing it on, like, a partial picture. But for me, I'd have to give it to Ori. I love that soundtrack. It is very beautiful. Very, very beautiful.
I'd like Doom Eternal to win, because, like, Doom 2016 did win this award for its score.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't think it will. Just because of the drama, and it was badly mixed in the game and stuff. But
it seemed to rely a lot on past songs as well. Like on the hub ship, that's one of the primary collectibles that you go around and look at is past music. Because you like collect records or something. I forget exactly what it is, but you collect the record and then you can go and like listen to it while you're walking around on the ship.
Yeah.
And I feel it kind of emphasized that over the new music. And yeah, as you said, it was badly mixed. Did it ever get fixed?
I don't think officially, like, because I went on, after I heard it was badly mixed, I went on YouTube to see if I could find a mixed version. And people had done it themselves, but not actually like Doom or Mick Gordon, who actually composed it.
Okay, so it's still going to be the same. Because, yeah, that's the main reason I don't think it will win, is because it was poorly mixed so that it wasn't nearly as noticeable as it was in Doom, like 2016.
I'm not a music guy. I don't really know, but I definitely noticed the mixing on YouTube when it was fixed. I 100% noticed it, and I was like, wow, for me to notice it, that says something.
Yeah.
So
Final Fantasy VII is maybe, because, you know, what's it? Yeah, Nobuo Uematsu. Sorry, I think
it would be Uematsu. I think Uematsu would be pretty.
I've heard the name so many times. Nobuo Uematsu. Yeah, Uematsu. And, like, he's renowned for his score. So, I mean, I could see Final Fantasy VII maybe taking it. Hades... its score is good, but to me, it's like, from what I've heard, it's nothing that I'm like, holy fuck, I need the soundtrack to this.
I agree.
I do like the music, but it's nothing that I write home about.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely Ori and the Will of the Wisp, to me, is the most standout of all of them.
So real quick,
well
I
done.
don't think anybody else here has played Last of Us Part 2. Overall, their soundtrack is good, but, you know, nothing outstanding. But there are a few moments in there where Ellie or somebody else is singing, and it's beautiful. It is an incredible, original piece of work that just sends the story into another. Like it hits you in the heartstrings.
Well, even its use of licensed music as well. Because again, I looked online to see what other people were saying because I wasn't sure, to be honest, and a lot of people said Last of Us 2, like because of the score itself and because of like what Grayden's talk about and the story components that involve music. So I think that does put it above any game that just has a soundtrack, but we'll see, because Ori was very, very atmospheric and it really nailed what it was going for. So for me, it's between Ori and Last of Us.
I do think I remember seeing a video of, I think, Neil Druckmann directing Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, like during one of the singing sequences, and the way he was directing them and the way they like sung together, it was so beautiful, and you could tell that there was a genuine like connection. So like I could see, like, for that reason alone, that the music could take it.
Yeah.
But that might be more so on the director or like direction. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could say.
I'm very curious to see how it all, especially with The Last of Us 2. I wonder if people are going to get upset if it wins too much.
Yes.
Well, because it had like a mixed reception when it first came out. Right,
Yeah,
like it had a fairly mixed reception. Like I'm pretty sure, because I mean, Last of Us 1 was. I think it's even people who haven't played it can acknowledge that game was a phenomenal game. Like they just did an excellent job.
Praised, yeah.
Yes. I think that it set the bar extraordinarily high, and I think they didn't quite get over that bar for Last of Us 2. I think that's why people were mad about it as well, because it wasn't new enough or wasn't better enough to do it. Based on like the reviewers that I watched that went over the game itself, because I was genuinely confused, because I was like, it's a sequel, so it's continuing a similar story. It's like you can only do so much better than a game that got that much praise. Like that's almost a hard bar to surpass after you've already set that bar.
Here's where I will say that for the first half of the game, they nailed it. Like there was equal to the bar from Last of Us, and then something happens. And then I was like, I don't care. Fuck, this is dumb. I want this other thing.
Was it just like a cheesy thing they did or something in the story?
It was a big thing.
It's a big thing, yeah.
And
I don't want to give too much away in case anybody is planning on playing it or.
I'd like to play it at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was very ambitious, and I respect them for trying. But I
agree with that, but.
Just didn't pay off.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're between Ori and Last of Us as a group in general. I'm going Ori just because that's the one I.
I'm also going Last of Us.
I'm definitely Ori.
Half of us will be taking a shot. No.
Only if this is our fifth wrong, which is possible.
All right.
That means I got everyone wrong up to here.
Best audio design. Recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design, aka footsteps and whatnot. So we got Doom Eternal,
okay, now go for it, babe.
Half-Life Alyx, Ghost of Tsushima, Resident Evil 3, and Last of Us Part 2.
Okay, so can I just... I want to give it, like... I don't think Doom Eternal, just because of the issues it had, should get this one.
No.
I didn't play Half-Life Alyx. I played, like, I think there was an original Half-Life, wasn't there, on PlayStation or something like that?
No.
There's been
There's the orange box.
You get the orange box, yeah.
Half-Life Alyx is the VR game that came out.
No, I know, but I thought there was another Half-Life game that was like...
There's other Half-Life games, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Half-Life.
There's
1.
Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 2.
I was gonna say, I swear I played Half-Life on one of my consoles, like one of the original ones. So I mean, but again, I don't remember fuck all from it, so I can't really comment on that game. Ghost of Tsushima, just watch, like listening to videos and stuff like that. I heard it had a pretty great in-game design for audio and sound. Coming from experience, I'd have to Resident Evil 3 also had a good. I'd say Resident Evil 2 had a better in-game design, but I feel like Resident Evil 3 they did a really good job of getting that like atmospheric kind of jumpiness going. they went in knowing exactly what they're trying to achieve, and I think they achieved it with that game. I didn't play Last of Us, but from what you said, Grayden, the soundtrack kind of complemented the
soundtrack
gameplay quite all.
as well as in terms of sound design. There's a few moments in the game, I forget the name of the faction, but there's a group of survivors that communicate through whistling.
Oh.
So when you're sneaking around and you can hear them whistling to each other, there's like an alert whistle, there's like a check-in whistle, and like you can hear it coming from different spots, and it's really cool. It's really well done.
That does.
Can we just say then? I think the Huntress should win this category for her fucking whistling.
I think maybe Resident Evil 3 would be a good, like, it's the only one that I've played out of all of them. But just because it's a horror game, like, it's hard not for a horror game to take it sometimes, I feel, just because horror is largely based off of sound and how it's utilized. So if it's not done well, then it's just a bad game overall. And Resident Evil 3, while it has problems, is not a bad game at all. I think the sound design is super strong. All of the sound effects of the guns and like Nemesis coming after you, smashing through walls, or like stomping behind you, or the sound of the zombies, like it's all iconic and classic to where it's like, I think that Last of Us or Half-Life Alyx, I assume Half-Life Alyx has super immersive audio because it kind of has to.
That's what I was gonna say. Like,
it has iconic sounds with the Combine doing their like, and the sound of the head crab going like, like there's so many iconic sounds, and like the sound of gunshots has to be perfect, and you sliding your clip into the gun. I think for me, it's Half-Life Alyx and Resident Evil 3.
What, Jarrod?
I just said I think this is a tough category to call. Like I'd say 4 out of the 5 contenders could put up a good fight for why they would deserve this category.
I think it's Half-Life Alyx. You don't become the VR game, like almost system seller, without having good audio. Because in VR, if the audio isn't immersive, then it's straight up. It ruins the whole experience. Straight up.
Yeah.
So I think they would have.
But you could argue that for a horror game too.
But it's less important compared to a VR game. It's still very important. Don't get me wrong, but I still.
I'm stuck between Resident Evil and Half-Life.
See, for me,
I'm stuck between those two.
I played Resident Evil 3 I ran through it a bunch of times, and while the sound design was good, it never stood out to me. I was never like, "Oh, damn, that's good." So,
see, this is why I said I think I'd argue that Resident Evil 2. I was gonna say this is why I said I think Resident Evil 2, if it was up there as the category, I think it would have been the winner, just because it had that ominous, like, it never, the music and sound direction or design never let you feel comfortable anywhere you were. And that's kind of what, if you're in a horror game, that's kind of what you want, right? Like, you want the audio to play with with you and see, like, okay, am I safe or am I not safe? Like, even in the main room, right? In the main room in the game, you don't really feel safe. Like, I never really felt safe ever. So
it was cool to be able to tell exactly which room Mr. X was in just based off his footsteps and where he was walking. You could be like, oh, he's in the fucking library right now. I'm moving away from there.
Yeah, he was terrifying. I don't know. I'm gonna, honestly, I think I might go with you guys on this one with Half-Life. I think you're correct, Peter. I think, when it comes to immersion, VR, you have to immerse people into stuff. So if you don't have a good soundtrack, there's no way you'd get that kind of immersion. So I'd agree with that. I'd say it's between Resident Evil 3 and Half-Life, but I'm going to go Half-Life.
A lot of people online did say Last of Us Part 2, but I don't know.
Well, it's probably for things like what Grayden said there, but to me, you can't have moments of it. I think you have to have an overall, like, strong design. I have never played Last of Us 2, so I can't say that I can really comment on it.
Also, you gotta remember, like it's not. They're individual moments, but they're consistent individual moments. Like clickers, when you enter an area and you just hear the, or fuck, I can't make the sound. The click, yeah, the click sound. I don't know. That's fucking terrifying, and like which direction it's at.
But that's that ominous feeling, right? And that's what I think it does when it does really well. But I don't know. I can't really speak to it. If I played the game, then I'd be able to speak on it more. But I didn't experience that.
I at the end of the day, I agree with Peter that Half-Life in VR has to have that audio component to it to make it a good game.
Especially we put up for Game of the Year.
Exactly. So for me, it's Half-Life or Last of Us.
It's probably Half-Life.
I'm gonna.
All right.
So
next is
this
best
is a
performance.
category. I have no opinion, honestly.
Awarded to an individual for voiceover acting, motion, and or performance capture. We got Ashley Johnson as Ellie, Laura Bailey as Abby, Ghost of Tsushima. I don't know if I can say that.
Daisuke as Jin Sakai.
Thank you. I would have butchered it. Logan Cunningham as Hades, and Naji Jeter as Miles Morales. So, I think this is an easy W for Ashley Johnson.
Yeah, I agree.
I heard Lauren Bailey did a fucking phenomenal job. I think, though I heard divisive things about her character, I think just overall I heard that what she did in terms of her performance was phenomenal. So yeah, I think The Last of Us Part 2 is taking it.
Yeah.
Well, a game like Last of Us has to have good acting. It's almost reliant on
it's the most narrative game out of them all, I would say.
Because you can play a Spider-Man game for the fact that it's a Spider-Man game and not really give a shit what they're saying, right? Like you can kind of get through that and have a good time still. I haven't played Hades, but from what you guys are telling me, you can almost do a similar idea there, where it's not like the most important thing. You still want it, but it's not the most important thing.
It's well done, but it's.
And then with Ghost of Tsushima, again, haven't played it, but I feel like I don't know how much like actual actor performance happens in it. I don't like. I'd be hoping maybe you guys had any insights in that. I don't know enough about the game to see if it would be like a heavily important part of the narrative or anything.
In Last of Us Part 2, I'm pretty sure like most of it would be motion capture. So like it's pretty much all legitimate acting happening at the same time as obviously the voice acting happens at a different time, but like the actual movements are themselves, and the faces they're making are as accurate as can be on the console that it's happening on.
I was gonna say it gets pretty insane. Just even looking at like how we track movements in the biomechanics labs, it's insane what you can do with accuracy. Like you can get like joint accuracies within like millimeters of like a 100% real life accuracy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's nuts. Some of those setups for recording motion capture are crazy.
Because we have like at the school, right? We have the whole, because we Nike and Adidas do a lot of stuff with their running shoes and stuff in there, and they'll do like the sprinters across, and they'll track the entire motion of the body through that. It's insane. Like, and that's just one area of it. Like, I can't even imagine how amazing it is for stuff like this, where they have them doing their movements. I'm gonna go with Ellie because I don't know Abby. I didn't really pay attention to Last of Us 2, and I know Ellie from the first one, right? She's the girl in the first one.
Yes.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go with Ashley Johnson. Congratulations, Ashley Johnson. You have my vote.
Like, I watched the playthrough of Last of Us 2, and there was a lot of good. Like Laura Bailey did a great job with Abby as well, but I do feel like Ashley Johnson outshined her, even for just that museum scene alone. Like that was just really well done.
Yeah, like I don't really know the voice actors for Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and Miles Morales, but I know Laura Bailey and Ashley Johnson very well, and they're both incredibly talented. Like, wow. But I agree with you, Peter. I think just based off of some of the scenes, Ellie was a little bit more, I don't know, relatable. Like you could just feel that emotion more so than Abby. So yeah, I'm going with Ashley.
Like Jarrod said, good job, Ashley Johnson. Congratulations.
You have live connections vote. It means a lot to her. We know. Okay.
All right. Up next is Games for Impact. For a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message, we have If Found, Kentucky Route Zero TV Edition, Spiritfarer, Tell Me Why, and Through the Darkest of Times.
I don't think I can really comment on this one.
I've wanted to play a lot more Spiritfarer, so I mean, I'm gonna try and get some of that done. I have it installing, so I'm gonna try and do that before the actual Game Awards start. So I will hold back, but for me, I think it will be between Spiritfarer or Tell Me Why, just in terms of like how much I heard from those games. I know Spiritfarer is a very cathartic, like thought-provoking experience and like a good way to like compartmentalize death and like deal with it and see it in a different way. Well, Tell Me Why had a trans character where they weren't making the game about a trans character, but like you still experience some of the issues that they would like be faced with in dealing with their transition and everything. So I think in terms of that, Tell Me Why would be very strong. And like the trans character was very well written from my point of view. So yeah, I think just in terms of like how much I heard from the games too, from journalists and stuff, those two games seem to be the strongest contenders, because I'd honestly never even heard of the others except for Kentucky Route Zero.
Yeah, the only I played Tell Me Why. I only got halfway through it. It was fine for me. But I did hear good things about Kentucky Route Zero and Spiritfarer. So for me, it's between those two.
I've only heard of Tell Me Why and Spiritfarer. And I'm ready to go with Spiritfarer because it just looks cool.
All right.
Yep. I like that. I like that picture.
I feel deep meaning from that picture.
Yeah, it's really impacted me.
All right. For best ongoing, awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. We have Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Warzone, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky. All very different games.
Can I admit something?
Uh-oh.
Yes. My son.
I'm gonna start playing Destiny 2 again.
That's a big statement in this group.
It's all free now with Game Pass, so like I spent $120 fucking dollars. I'm getting more content out of that fucking game. I'm gonna see what it's all about, because apparently some of the new content is very good. So I'm gonna check that out. I think the ones that will win this though are probably Warzone or Fortnite. Just because Warzone is still going on with the release of Cold War. I don't think it's like currently connected with Cold War yet, but I'm pretty sure they're working towards that. And the fact that it's just been such, like, I think the player count of Warzone has just been it's absolutely insane. And it's been a fairly consistent topic for a while. I'd say I hear about it. Granted, Fortnite's not really in the circle of that I follow, but I hear a lot more about Warzone and the things that it's doing compared to what Fortnite's doing. All I see about Fortnite is that they have like they're putting Marvel heroes in a lot all the time, and that's kind of it.
But with Warzone, do you really think they've added content that evolves the player experience? I feel like Warzone has remained Warzone.
They did the zombies thing.
They did do the zombies thing. That's true.
What zombies thing? I missed the zombies thing.
There were zombies.
It was like Warzone with zombies. Once you die, you become a zombie, and you can kill another
becomes infection,
human,
essentially.
and then become a human again.
Okay, so it almost become what's isn't there a game mode in Halo that's like that kind of?
Infection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of that play style. That's interesting. Is that like a current mode it's in? Is like
I think that's a Halloween thing, and that's it.
Oh, okay.
No,
It-
yeah, I don't know.
It's just hard though. Because like all of these games are different enough, except for Warzone and Fortnite. Those are kind of the similar styles, but all of them are updating in a way that's significant. Like No Man's Sky, they've changed the game completely multiple times this year. And Destiny 2 just released a huge expansion and is accessible to everyone now because it's free to play. And a lot of the content you can just play for free.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with me with Destiny 2 is like I would like to give it another chance, but I don't think the content's been out long enough for me to say that it's changed the player experience right away. Like I think they need to. I think because it recently got released as like everything's free and everything, the new update and all that stuff. So I don't know if it's been out long enough to warrant it yet. Right? Like a lot of these games, I guess it is ongoing, so it falls into that category, but I don't know. I don't like if I'm basing it off of what I've played of these games, I'd probably I want to say just the amount that's changed in it. I'd want to give it to No Man's Sky. I haven't played a lot of it. I've played like a little bit of the first area and stuff like that. So I haven't got a lot in there, but just from what I know they've changed just by like reading about the game and everything, I'd almost have to give it to them just because that they've literally constantly evolved the player experience. Whereas Fortnite, you haven't really evolved the experience. You just added things here and there for people to mess around with off of like popular like things in the media. So again, they're adding the Marvel heroes just because Marvel was super popular in anything entertainment. So it's like besides that, they haven't done anything. You do the same shit. You build. You try to make it to the last chance. It just hasn't really changed or evolved that experience to me.
Isn't that the same as Warzone though?
I'm not giving it to Warzone either. I don't think Warzone should get it either. I think Warzone's a great game, but it came out big, and it's been kind of riding that straight high as like to me one of the better battle royale games in general, if not the best battle royale based on what I like in battle royales. So I don't really consider it an evolving of experience. I think it just has kind of been a consistently good experience from it. Apex Legends, we had a lot of fun with Apex Legends as a group, so it was fun. But I haven't played it recently, so I don't really know what they've added to evolve the game as it's stayed open.
It'd be the same as Warzone or Fortnite, I guess. New maps.
Yeah, where it's kind of like, yeah. So I don't think those three games, because they're like the nature of a battle royale, they kind of launch as like their unique thing, right? Like they push out. They're like, hey, we're unique in this way, and they ride that high. You've seen where battle royales who have tried to launch that way have just crashed, right, and burned trying to compete with the three that are arguably the largest battle royales. I think they are the largest battle royales that are on release. But I'd like to give this one to No Man's Sky, to be honest. I just think that the amount they've put into the game post-launch to constantly change the player experience. I think they deserve this. Whether I think they're going to get it or not, because I don't know if enough people play the game or have really paid attention to what they've changed. But I think they deserve it, personally.
I agree with most of what you're saying. In terms of ongoing content and like at new experiences, I don't want to do it, but I think Destiny 2, like the raids are so popular, and there's a reason they're popular. They're good, they're hard, they're enjoyable, and they just keep coming out with new ones. Like it can be a little cut and dry and repeat, but there's different mechanics, there's different things you have to do to get past. Like when we played, there was the platforming, and then you had to stay in the circles at certain points, and then people had to split up into teams. There's just so much community and communication needed that really enhances your experience of the game rather than anything else in this category. I'm going Destiny 2.
I did see this morning that apparently a team of raid players completed a raid and unlocked a completely new line of quests for all other players of Destiny playing Beyond Light. So I think that's like something that's really cool and stands out to show like how they've kind of evolved and done something like that. I think this category is just so difficult because all of these games have been significant in how they've changed and developed themselves over the year. So it's like, I think this one's up in the air, honestly. Any of these are contenders. They're all phenomenal choices to me.
I'd like to see No Man's Sky win, but I think Fortnite's going to take it. Like, you guys are said, like, oh, yeah, they just had the Marvel stuff. But, like, the only one of these games that could have done that if they wanted to is Warzone or Fortnite. And Fortnite's just, it's shown some innovations that I think are interesting. Like, the concerts that have begun happening this year within Fortnite. I just think that Fortnite has so much power behind it, even if it is slowly fading into the back burner. Their billions of dollars, I think, will win them the category. It's ultimately the biggest ongoing game, and I think as a result, it's going to win this.
It's not really. I'm still sticking with No Man's Sky for my choice, but I do think that with all the stuff they've added to Destiny, it is a game worth maybe checking out again and taking a second glance at, just because of how they've changed it.
Like the fact that it's on Game Pass now is significant for us.
Yeah. With the new raids, like the raids would make great streaming content. So I think it would be worth a peek at the game again once we maybe go down the road.
Well, we're at an hour, boys. We should probably pick up the pace a little bit if we want to get through all these.
All right,
maybe indie game, Peter. Here you go.
Yeah, this one's
Fall Guys.
No, shuts. No, this one's easy. It's gonna be Hades. See my earlier points in the video. It's no question. No question.
Not carrying. I would say maybe Spiritfarer, or Fall Guys. Actually, yeah. Out of all of them, like the only other one would be Fall Guys, just because of what it did when it came out. But yeah, it's Hades.
It's gonna be
come
Hades.
On, it's Hades.
I would say Fall Guys was too short lived. It had a big rise and a big fall. Like you don't hear much about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said to you guys, it was kind of like bland. Like I played it for like 5 rounds, and then I said that I like the first round was, oh, this is unique, and then the rest of it I was like, they just kept repeating the same thing, and I was like, okay, I'm getting a little bored of this. It wasn't as fun, and I found it I don't know if it was just lucky, but I found it super easy to make it to the end in that game. And I'm not a platformer, and there's an okay amount of like basic platforming in that game.
Jarrod's just too good at games.
I'm an all-star.
Let's speed run this. Best mobile game.
All right. So of these, I think it's between Among Us and Genshin Impact. We discussed this a little bit before.
Pokemon Cafe Mix, Peter?
No, don't even. I'm gonna crop that out. Actually, no. I just don't think Among Us is not the best game playable on a mobile device, as the category says. And sure, it's fine, but it can't be the greatest of experiences. Like Jack was playing it on mobile on Thursday, and he was like, "This goddamn sucks." I think Genshin Impact's gonna take it away.
I think how big it is with streamers, it's going to take it away. Like, they wouldn't be big in the streaming world if there wasn't something backing it, right? Like, there's usually two reasons, or a few reasons at a game, but like 2 big reasons. Either the game's really good, or the game's so shit that people want to stream it because it's comical to stream, right? So I feel like, but I don't think it's that. Based on what I've seen and some of the people that I've seen playing it, they wouldn't play it for the shit quality of it. Yeah. I've never even heard of Legends of Runeterra, so I can't really comment on that.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Best community sport.
So, Grayden, before, I don't think you were on here when I talked about this. Community support. I thought you meant community support.
I was like, what
I heard
the fuck?
So fucking...
What does that mean? The guy who sends GG the most? Like, come on, what?
Hey, good game, bro. Good game.
God damn it, I gotta pick up my game for this next year so I can win that award.
For this one, I actually think it's going to be Fall Guys. They had a really unique way of communicating with their fan base, And like their social media game was on point, and like even like that ongoing relationship they had with Tim the Tatman, with how they just meme on him for not being able to win for like weeks on end. I just never, none of these other games have done anything like that. So for me, that's why I think Fall Guys is going to win.
It's Fall Guys. It has to be.
I would say Fall Guys, but the issue that I have here is the game updates and patches were nothing. Like. They didn't like. There's two parts to this category, really. You can't like. Yes, their social media. They made comments about that on like they made people commented about how it was a unique way they went about their social media, and how like their Twitter was always commenting towards people and like commenting on the game, and they were very like responsive to things.
Well, I don't think they includes like the patches that they put out, because like it's just recognizing a game for community support, transparency, and responsiveness. So I don't think that's like. I think it says inclusive of social media activity and game updates. Like they've always been great at communicating what they've done in each patch and everything and what they're going to do. So I think if it was in best ongoing, which is it? No, but like I do think it's more deserving of community support than best ongoing.
Yeah, I could agree with that. All right, next one.
Okay, I mean this one you've told me already is pretty much decided. It's gonna be Half-Life. I was gonna make a comment that Squadrons is fucking insane.
Squadron's supposed to be really good. I will say that. Yeah,
it is. It is insane. Like I want to buy it because I was just waiting to see what the reviews were like. Because to me, when you get a game that is purely about like that flight simulator-esque style gameplay, it can go. It's really hit or miss. But from what the people I've watched play it, the video I've seen on it, it's insane. Like it's really diverse. It's really customizable, which is really unique. And it's very it makes you feel really immersed in the experience with it. But again, Half-Life wouldn't be the #1 VR game if it wasn't the best at what it did. So I'd say Half-Life wins this one regardless of whoever tries to compete with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, innovation and accessibility. Jarrod, you said you wanted to talk about this one?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this because I actually was going to say I want to give it to Assassin's Creed. And the reason I want to do this is they did a couple unique things. The first thing they did that was really cool to make it more accessible to a larger population of people, make more inclusive, is they added that they two features, three different things you could do. You could play as a female character the whole way through. You could play as a male character the whole way through, or you could play in a mode that changed based on what the link said was best on the Animus. So it would just change you periodically between male and female if you wanted to purely base it on who would best fit this situation based on the characters that Ubisoft saw when they designed the story and everything. The other cool thing about it is they made it so you could change throughout the game. So it's like, say you start playing as a female character, you're like, yeah, I'm not really feeling it, I want to switch over. Or you started doing you wanted to try out that the switching between sexes. They allowed you to change it throughout the game in the Animus just to do that. They also allow you to change your appearance throughout the game. And they really tackled a few things with regards to they did a cool thing where they have the I forget what it's called. I forget what it's considered, but it's where it basically is auditory feedback for people if they maybe visions. I forget what it was exactly for, but it basically would read back the text or help read it back to you or help give it to you in such a way that you could see everything really clearly. I think it was the other way around. I think it would take auditory and make it more clearly visually adept for people who are deaf or can't hear. And I think that's really cool, really unique. There were a few other features that I didn't delve into when I opened up Assassin's Creed, just because I have limited time. But they did have quite a large accessibility options front. It was beyond a screen. It was not just one or two options. It was quite a long list of options for you to change to make it accessible to everyone. I think there was.
Just real quick, I saw one thing in Assassin's Creed. I think it's Assassin's Creed for visually impaired people where it makes it so your character is a very apparent blue like Shade, everything
Yeah.
turns gray, and then like the other characters are like very red, and like it's just if you're visually impaired to where it's like kind of blurry for you, you could like be real close up to the screen and still be able to play the game effectively.
And they did that really well with even like talking about the reds and blues. They differentiated. So you know how the old Assassin's Creed's prior to this, or at least the newer, older Assassin's Creed, so like Origins, Odyssey, they would basically use your bird, and you could pick out characters in the world, and like I basically mark them as enemies. In this one, what they did instead to kind of replace that is you could still use your oversight, like using the bird as like an oversight to see, okay, who's where, what am I looking at? But you didn't mark them. Instead, they increased what was used to be like the thing where you'd basically send it a wave and tell you what things you could loot. They enhanced that. So now it's called Odin Vision, essentially. So it's like you press it, it shoots out, and it'll shoot out a blue wave. Everything turns blue, and all the enemies turn red. All the loot stuff gets highlighted immediately with different color. Like they basically really tried to make it so, like you said, Eric, you could really differentiate things in the world so that if you weren't able to just inherently, then it would just help you out. And I thought that was really cool. I think they did an excellent design for accessibility. I didn't play Legions, but I assume because it's Ubisoft, it was on the similar front with trying to differentiate for accessibility. So, I mean, that seems like it might be a hard comparison between those two, but I think Valhalla's, based on the other Watch Dogs games I've played, I think Valhalla is a superior game in general for that kind of stuff. I'd make more use of it. Grounded had that cool color blindness feature they had that you could turn on and off, which is really nice.
Well,
I think that's really unique.
Arachnophobia mode was super unique to games, I feel like.
Yeah, like I've never really had a game that's offered to do something like that. It was really eye-catching. I didn't play Hyperdot, so I can't comment shit on that. And then I don't know, Grayden, maybe you know more about Last of Us for accessibility.
I could see how Hyperdot was done, or not even, because it's a very simple game. So like, I guess maybe just the different controllers that they may have made, because that's kind of how I was seeing it. Like, how many more people can be made accessible through different controller layouts or configurations, or like being compatible with, so I think like some of Xbox's like accessibility controllers, how it's like kind of like sensor. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but like, yeah. I just think out of pure complexity of the game, to have as much accessibility to enhance its audience as Assassin's Creed does, I think that's why I would give it to it, because it's a very complex, like that. Just the style of gameplay is really hard to make accessible to large audiences if you have any issues, or if you have, even if you're not like the best at the game in general. Like if you're just not a huge gamer but want to experience it, they really made it customizable for everything from like how perceptive people are around in the world. They really like tried to make this experience so that it could touch like a little bit of everyone's interest in the game. And I think that's why I would give it this category. I think it did the best with how complex it was.
I have no idea.
I wish I was a bit more knowledgeable on some of the accessibility features, but yeah, I guess I'll go with Assassin's Creed or Grounded, just because those are the ones I know.
Pretty much. All right.
Best action.
Yeah, best action. For me, I think it's Doom Eternal, just because that game is all action all the time. That's it, and it's good action. So,
yeah,
like
I've never played Nioh.
Nioh is it's supposed to be good too. But ultimately, I
agree with you. That's literally the appealing thing of Doom, is literally the action and the, like, you're freaking superhuman. It's crazy.
You move fast.
Yeah.
All right. Best action adventure. All right, this one, there's a whole pile of games in this one.
Fallen Order's on here. What the fuck?
Yeah, which is interesting.
So this is a tough one for me.
I think it's Ghost of Tsushima for me. I think that's what I'm leaning towards.
Combining combat with traversal.
Combining combat with and puzzle solving, I'm gonna have to go with Assassin's Creed again on this one.
I'm thinking just because of traversal, like fucking Spider-Man, man. it's Spider-Man. The combat is so fucking fun in the Spider-Man games. The traversal is. I don't even need to play it, and I know that like it would be so satisfying and fun. Look at the fucking videos of them doing the Into the Spider-Verse stuff, and tell me you don't want to play that game.
But see, like, doesn't this qualify as a remaster of sorts?
No, this is the Miles Morales version.
Yeah, but
is it to me? Isn't it just like it's the same
it's
as
1.5.
like Far Cry New Dawn? Far Cry. Is
Blood
that what
Dragon?
it's called? New Dawn?
no,
New Dawn.
New
I'm
Dawn,
seeing more
yeah.
so because it's not a small experience in the same way, but it's like an expansion of the same map, a huge story, not completely different, but different like combat techniques and different ways to progress. So I do think that having not played it, I think Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales is a contender for this for sure.
So I'm trying to think of like, for me, when it comes to these categories, I try to like base it off of the combination they're going for, because I find like it may not be the best it may not be master one category, but it's the best overall in both categories combined. I don't know Tsushima enough. Again, I can't really comment on it. The gameplay style in Tsushima looks, from what I've seen in videos, and it hasn't been much, looks fairly similar to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order in the way that they traverse things. Fallen Order didn't really have much. I don't think the puzzle solving was super difficult, so I don't think it combined. Like, I think they could have done better with it. It was unique, but it literally was mostly reliant on force powers, and once you had those force powers, you could solve the puzzle. It wasn't really a lot of thinking involved in it.
It was like Metroidvania-esque, where like you get the power up to access new areas.
Yeah,
exactly. It wasn't like it was something super tricky to do. The combat was beautiful. I think Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order did a great job with combat. Traversing was like it was good, but I don't think it was anything that stood out to me in that game. Again, once you had the ability, you could do it. It wasn't like you had to kind of creatively figure out how to traverse based around things to make it work. Ori was good for a lot of things. I don't think it really fits this category. Spider-Man, I would agree with you, Eric. It's combining combat and traversal. Just inherently, the Spider-Man games, except for maybe the in-between ones, were really known for that kind of stuff. Like, it's just such a diverse game. Like, the vertical, the horizontal movement is just so... It's just insane. Like, it's just great that way. I didn't play... Like, based on what I played on the original Spider-Man game that on Grayden's console, there wasn't really puzzle solving in it that I found was, like, super intense. It was kind of just trickled throughout the whole experience.
There's, like, little side activities.
Yeah,
like
Last of Us
for the side activities.
Yeah, exactly. And Last of Us 2, again, I never played it, so I don't really know anything about it. But Assassin's Creed Valhalla, they really, for me anyways, like a lot of the Assassin's Creed used to have kind of the same idea where they just kind of trickle it there, like little bonus activities and stuff like that. But they really kind of pushed forward the idea that they wanted the experience to be completely like unique to the people. So it's really interesting how they give you so many different ways you can solve the different puzzles. They give you a lot of ways you can go about basically achieving a task, or like some of the hidden chests and stuff. Like you actually have to, one of the chests, it took me an hour to figure out how to freaking get to it because I was trying to figure out the best way, but they've kind of, it's again that problem solving aspect, and the combat system is much better than it was in even Odyssey, and I felt Odyssey basically was the top for combat in Assassin's Creed, and I think they outdid it again in Valhalla, especially with the uniqueness of the weapons and traversing through as an assassin. Like they made it really like there's so many ways you can go about completing a task in that game with your combat and traversal. It's ridiculous. Like there's copious amounts of ways to do it. So I think that with the diversity of combat and how the traversal works with the assassin side of the game, and then the puzzle solving that they actually tried to emphasize throughout the game, that's what I want to give it to it, because I don't think the combat and traversal is better than Spider-Man by no means, but I think that the overall combination of the two, I think it's a better game for this category.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll give a defense for Ori and Will O Wisp in this category. That game's traversal and like movement is so satisfying when you're just like moving perfectly through an area and you're just carving through any enemy that's in your way and you just keep on moving. It is a very, very satisfying game in terms of like its action adventure elements. It's just it's such a completely different experience from the rest of these games that it's kind of jarring to see it in this category.
That's fair. You make a good point there.
For me, my vote's, even having not played, it's still going to be Spider-Man, I think.
I agree with that.
I'm going to say Ghost of Tsushima.
Ooh. Me and you, the outliers.
Yeah.
Best role playing.
So, best role playing. I'm going to give it to Final Fantasy VII Remake, just because out of all these games, it's the only one nominated for Game of the Year.
That's fair. I'm going to give it to... Point. Yeah, either Final Fantasy VII or Like a Dragon. I still want to play. I need to play more Wasteland 3 to be able to decide. Like, I need to beat it, get through the game, and like have another playthrough probably to really be like, all right, is this worthy?
I just like the role playing experience in it. Like, it plays to that goofy post apocalyptic. Like, the choices do matter. Like, fuck, there's like, I mean, just even off of our last episode, I won't go into it too much, but Eric and I were literally put between a rock and a hard place, and we had to choose one or the other, and we got our ass kicked on both sides until we slowed down our strategy and like figured out what to do. But to me, it's like, it just has such impactful options. Like, I actually, half the time, like, we picked the goofy ones because we've picked a play style and we're trying to hold to that like character play style. Like, what would our characters do in that situation? Because if you were going through that game and just being like, I'm just gonna pick a situation-based situation, I'm gonna pick kind of what I feel, it'd be fucking hard, because half the time you're sitting there going, man, if I do this person hates me. If I do this person severely hates me. It's like, I don't know. I feel like the build of the character, like, they don't have a lot for you don't feel like you've built yourself up very much, but as a group in Wasteland 3, I think the options and stuff are huge and make a big impact on that experience.
In terms of like individual customization with like armor and like abilities and weapons, that's significant too, though.
Yeah. I don't like the multiplayer experience is pretty decent, I'd say. We haven't had many issues with it. It's pretty smooth. It goes kind of off like an initiative style combat system where it's like, you know, if when it comes to Eric and I, it will do initiative, but if say I engage the combat, my guys will always go first because it's kind of like a sneak attack or something, right? So like say I'm walking and there's a group of enemies and I take out a rocket launcher and just blast an area to deal area damage. My group will start the combat, just because it's, again, considered a sneak attack, but it won't mean that Eric starts the combat. So it kind of changes how like combats are like what the what am I looking for?
How it progresses, sort of thing. Like how.
Yeah. I just think it did. I think it did a really good job overall as an RPG. It really took that top down, but made it it really emphasized the RPG elements behind it, and I think that's really cool of a game like that. I kind of played little bits of the other ones, but I didn't play enough of them to be like, oh yeah, this game really upped it from its previous games or anything like that. I played a little bit of Genshin. It's all right. It's not my thing, but I think that's more of just like a game type that's not my thing. I don't know if the RPG is not my thing.
It's Persona 5, that it feels like it's cheating almost. Didn't that game come out in like fucking 2018 or something?
Persona 5 Royal is something different.
Okay.
It's like it's offshoot of the main game.
Then I'm just not knowledgeable enough to be able to obviously say anything on that. Are we good to move on? Grayden, what do you think?
Best role-playing? Final Fantasy. You don't get
Yeah.
a name like Final Fantasy without having some,
Yeah.
It's Final Fantasy. It's the role-playing game,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
I could see Yakuza Like a Dragon just because it's such a unique experience for Yakuza, but
Definitely.
I haven't seen enough to
Just
really say.
Kind of going off of the it's like a quick side comment here. When I was watching those new trailers for 2077 that came out, it immediately tickled my fancy when it's like the first thing they mention is your choices will mean impact on the world. I was like, well, fuck, I'm getting the game.
Jarrod, I could talk about Cyberpunk so much. You know that. It's gonna be.
I just was laughing because I was like, they had to say one thing in the trailer, one thing to get me to play, like, get the game when it comes out, and they said it.
All right. So best fighting. I feel like the fighting game community was quiet this year. Like,
We can largely skip this category, I think, because the
I-
only one I've played is Mortal Kombat 11.
I
played two of them. I played Street Fighter as well. I mean, I just love, like, there is nothing more satisfying than the the fatal, or like the kill, like the special animations for each person. Like, there is nothing more satisfying than that in a game. Because when I play a fighter, it's like you don't want to just be hitting each other and be like, oh, woo, you won, you fell over, you're dead. Like, that thing, when you win, you don't win. You like fucking tear someone's spine out, or you gut them or something. So I think Mortal Kombat will win just because it's like, I don't know, it seems very impactful. It's very satisfying to win in that game.
People are saying it's the Super Smash Bros. For Gen Xers because it's been getting like fucking Terminator, Rambo, who the fuck? It has Spawn coming in. And like, I did play it. Is this like because it was too late last year that it's on here?
Well, I think Ultimate is like the next gen package of it too.
Okay. I could see more Combat 11 being worth it. 'Cause it is a very, very good game. It's fucking fun.
Super satisfying.
But I haven't played the other ones to be able to say. I have no comparison, even in terms of like what I've heard of.
I'm just basing off of what I know of like other Bandai fighters. It's just not for me, because I mean the Naruto games are also all fighters, all Bandai Namco games, and just based off of like what their combat system was like, it just didn't quite appeal to, like, I liked it. I still, those two are my two favorite combat game or like fighter games that I played, is Mortal Kombat and the Naruto Shippuden games, but I'd still give it to Combat 11 just because it does something unique. Like, they both are fighters. You have special powers. You do something, and the other like you do certain things. But this takes the next step into that kind of immersive fighting situation. So I don't know. That's why I'd give it to 11.
I hate fighting games, but I like One Punch Man, so he gets my vote.
Okay. That's Grayden's vote. We'll see if he wins, if he's taking a shot.
I'm gonna say Street Fighter, just cause.
Just because of the name, or what?
Yeah, that's literally it. It's got
right.
the guy with the red headband on the cover.
It's got the fighting game.
Yeah. All right. Next up, best family game. I feel like we
Animal
can comfortably
Crossing.
say Animal Crossing.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yep.
I don't think Mario Kart Live got well received, did it?
It was okay.
It was fine. It's
the thing.
Yeah, it's expensive, and it's an RC car game, so like you play it once and it goes on the shelf, and you probably won't play it again.
Then it goes on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, I really liked Origami King, but I don't think it was a very popular game.
It was and wasn't. I think some Paper Mario diehards had problems with it, which they always do. They always fucking hate the new Paper Mario. So
of course. So next, best sim/strategy. I'm giving this to Microsoft Flight Simulator because they took how the game was made is they took real satellite information and from Bing, and they literally built the world up so it's to scale 1-to-1. It's all real, as if you were actually flying. They use real life server data to make this game, and that's really impressive. That's nuts. That's never been seen before.
I'm all for it.
So my question is how is the gameplay though? Like it's really, I think that's insane that they took like the actual, it's like a 1-to-1 scale. But what's the gameplay like? Like what's the, like I understand it's a simulator, right? So you're flying a plane. But like how much do they take in consideration?
Well, there's like missions and stuff you can do, like go from here to there and stuff like that. It is filled with things to do. It is a flight simulator at the end of the day, so they can only do so much. But I just think that what they did was so impressive that they earned it for me. They got my vote.
I will say that XCOM Chimera Squad did not do well compared to XCOM 1 and 2 in terms of like the community of XCOM. I know that based on one of the Discords I follow, that's literally the XCOM Discord. I didn't play it. I've only played 1 and 2. But from what I heard, it just didn't capitalize. Like 2 added a bunch of stuff to what 1 was. And then Chimera didn't really do it. They kept saying Chimera could have easily been like a DLC or like an update for the current game. It wasn't really anything unique. Gears Tactics.
I'm excited.
I just was looking it up, Peter. I am excited to do a playthrough of that just because of like because it's Gears and Gears is a pretty fun game to play through. But at the end of the day, it's literally a XCOM. Like I did read it up, Peter, and it is, from what I could read, it was like an XCOM style gameplay where it's like you control your squad. It's turn based kind of thing.
Hell yeah.
Desperados, I haven't heard a ton on in the strategy games. I play a lot of strategy games. I have quite a few on my PC that I have. I've heard of it. I haven't done a lot with it. Crusaders is definitely a game I've wanted to get, like easily, hands down. I want to get that game.
I've heard
apparently it's phenomenal. Like it's probably like I know when I was on, I follow a couple other Discords for strategy. I have one for Civ, and then I have another one for Starfield. And not that I play a lot of Starfield, I play the occasional thing here and there, but that community is really interesting to listen to.
Starfield? Isn't that the Bethesda game that's coming out?
Sorry, not Starfield. The StarCraft. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Okay. I was like,
my bad.
Jarrod.
And they were talking a bit about it because it's not a turn-based one. It's more of a in motion, like you got to make quick snap decisions to keep up. I mean, it's obviously it's medieval war so take it as you will. It's like fast paced, but not as fast paced as something like Halo Wars was, or something like StarCraft was, right? Where it's like you're talking about futuristic guns that you literally can devastate a space in a couple seconds. So, but I heard phenomenal things. So I'd say it's between Crusader Kings or based on what you told me, I'd say it's between that and Flight Simulator. I don't think the others.
I agree with
that. Will compete
I've
with
seen
that.
Some wild stories come out of Crusader Kings 3. Like, here's one I see on Reddit. It's so all my kids died of stress because of sibling death chain reaction. As a seduction-focused emperor of Scandinavia, I had quite the family of 25 kids, adults with land mostly. They all died within a week because one battle where too many of them were commanders went quite badly, and they ended up dead. That in turn killed a sibling from stress, and the chain reaction began. All of them died. Every single one. And so that's just like regular shit in Crusader Kings. Like shit just happens all the time, apparently. And
that's why I want to give it to that. Because like it's not just the combat that's really well known for, and like the actual like strategizing of your forces, but it's everything that happens outside of that. Like you have to build your kingdom up, you have to build like everything around that. So it kind of takes like what Civilization 6 does and like makes it a more specific and detailed level. I do want to get it. I'm super into it. I think I'll give it for this one just to add some excitement for our strategy one. I won't give it to Microsoft. I do think that's really insane, though, that they took a 1-to-1 scale. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, nuts. I was super impressed by that.
I always like games that do that, where they scale to things in real life and do it really well.
All right, next is best sports and racing. I think it's pretty easy to say I want to pick Tony Hawk. I think
I will say it's either Tony Hawk or Dirt 5. I've heard Dirt 5 is actually really like the more I come into contact with Dirt, the more I realize that like people really love those games. Dirt 4 is well regarded and like loved by a lot of people, and apparently Dirt 5 is like a perfect racing game, pretty much.
I've heard it needs some patches, but that it's definitely got a strong foundation.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not interested in racing games often besides Forza Horizon, and I'm considering getting Dirt 5.
I like racing games when you like have some sort of fun progression. And I just like riding in cars that I'll probably never buy in my life just because I don't have any need to. Like Grid 2, from what I looked at the Dirt series, Grid 2 is a very similar racing game to it, just in design and how you progress. So I think I'd definitely be interested in Dirt 5. I was saying this to Peter. I don't think FIFA should be on this because there was so much, like, of all the 2021 sports games, NHL was one of the few 2021 sports games from EA that actually added and improved features. Like the rest of them, like I played a lot of FIFA. I played a decent amount of FIFA, a decent amount of Madden NFL because of EA Play and everything like that. And NHL was the only one that I jumped into, and I was like, usually, like, I buy a sports game, I'm like, I'm not looking for something super unique. I'm buying it for the sole purpose that I want to play a sports game, right? But they did such a good job with, like, Be a Pro got enhancements. It's so much more, like, you have so much more control over what happens in your Be a Pro. Your GM mode got enhanced quite a bit. So they added more features that make it feel like you know what actual GMs deal with in sports. So I think FIFA got it just because of the scale of that game being played by people, and I don't think that's a fair thing, especially with the whole controversy where it was a cut and paste game from the previous generation, just like Madden. I have heard some good things about the 2K sports games. They used to be kind of the laughing stock of sports games, but they've really stepped up their dealio, haven't they?
They had a problem with casinos and fucking gambling or whatever.
Oh yeah,
2K, I have no trust in 2K for sports games. Like, as far as I'm concerned, the ones that are important are Tony Hawk and Dirt.
I would say Tony Hawk takes it. I think just because of how it was received.
Yeah, Tony Hawk it's such a fun game. I love it.
Yep.
All right. Next up is best multiplayer game. I think Among Us is gonna take it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean,
it just brought like any type of person. Not even gamers like are playing it. So like,
it's big and it's popular, but I still think Call of Duty's gonna take it.
Maybe.
I'm gonna give it to Among Us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nah, I'm pretty confident in Among Us.
I do think the other one that would contend is Warzone, though.
All right, next is Content Creator of the Year. I only know 3 of these, but I want to give it to
Alana Pierce.
Yeah.
Alana.
She's the only one that I know. Or like that I know enough of the content. Like I've heard of JN Lopez, and I've heard of Nick Merckx, because he's is he in esports?
Who cares? Alana Pierce, moving on.
Okay.
I just know Alana Pierce has done a lot for the gaming community.
I don't like
this year. She made the accessibility awards, which ran I think like last week or something, which that's pretty huge. And then she just signed on with the Santa Monica Sony developers, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
she's been all over the place.
She's now going to be writing like the next God of War game and whatever else they're producing. And then she left Rooster Teeth earlier this year. She's streaming constantly. So I think out of all of them, besides maybe Valkyrie, because she's like the like fastest growing female gamer or streamer
right now, like
ever.
Yeah.
So I think them just for those 2 facts will probably take it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Best debut game.
I'm gonna go with Phasmophobia just because of how big that was. That like it and still is to an extent. Carrion was good. I played that. Mortar Shell is supposed to be a good Souls-like game. I don't know the other two, but I think none of them had the splash like Phasmophobia did.
Yeah, Phasmophobia is still
I would agree
going,
with that.
so I think yeah.
It's also just cool. It's also just a cool idea. Like it's unique.
That looks like the last category we can really talk about.
I was about to say, yeah, I think we
maybe.
Well, I think
esports
Anthony.
Game.
Anthony, actually,
League.
I think. Honestly, there's a
Best
lot that have been huge. Because, like, Modern Warfare, pretty big still. Fortnite, I mean, it's fucking Fortnite. They have the biggest shit ever.
I'd have to give it to CSGO. Because it just fucking sticks around. It doesn't matter what the hell comes out. CSGO is just fucking... It's always there.
It's not Valorant.
I will go with Fortnite. Just... I don't know. It's Fortnite. I just get the feeling it'll win.
I'm gonna go with CSGO just because what the fuck, why not? Yeah, I think that's literally the last one we can really...
Yeah,
I don't know any of the esports hosts, so I can't really say that.
Not knowledgeable enough about that.
I don't know any of the esports teams outside of Rainbow Six Siege, so I definitely can't comment on that. Actually, I know G2 Esports, but they have multiple teams in different games, so...
Yeah, I cut out. I don't know what you guys said for best esports game, but I know Valorant has been huge this year. So just for this year, I'm gonna go Valorant.
I don't know.
This is the first one that Peter was like, not Valorant, that's shit.
I don't think it's Valorant. I don't think people were too unhappy with it at launch.
Yeah, but it's been pretty consistent amongst streamers, and like it's been played a lot. I think it's got a chance. Yeah, I think like Jerry's right. Just CS:GO and
it just sticks around.
Like League, like those are like they're just not going away. So,
yeah, it's like that bug splatter on your windshield you can't fucking get off. CS:GO just is like, fuck you guys, I'm still here, bitches.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's a big list of nominees we just went through.
I'm gonna hide this away in my safe spot.
I know where it is now.
No, you don't. That was my fake safe spot. I was purposely deceiving people.
You know, what if there's not a stepladder around? I won't be able to reach it, right?
Exactly. You know what? I'll put it on the third shelf up there, and then
yeah.
Get wrecked, Peter.
No, got me. Oh, all right. We're Live Connection. We stream twice a week. We're a variety channel, so we do a whole bunch of different stuff. We'll probably do Dead by Daylight in the future because of fan requests. Make sure to join us on December 10th to see when we can actually watch the Game Awards, see if we were right, if we were wrong, what world premieres we get. It'll be a great time. I'm looking forward to it.
I am also.
And yeah.
World premiere.
We hope you have a good rest of your Sunday, and yeah, talk to you soon.
See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.